I'm Trent, and this is Vision Preparedness. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Good to see everybody in the house. Good to see everybody. How's everybody doing today? Everybody having a good Thursday? Welcome to another edition of Vision Preparedness. Thank y'all for hanging out. Speak to a couple of people. I need to say hey to all my amazing moderators. Triple Threat, my mother Sparks, who had an amazing live. If y'all want to know how to make ghee, you need to go check out. She had a premiere tonight. And my man Marco. How's everybody doing? Annette, I see you. Good to finally see you again. Ladybug, Fed Up American, my man. Urban, how are you? Can I get a 5x5? Is everybody hear me? Everything is going well, I hope. And that would be a wonderful thing. Good to see you, Bougie. Welcome. 5x5. Thank you, my mother Sparks. Thank you, Bougie. Okay. Now, we got a special guest with us, and here's my disclaimer. This is my guy. This is my man of faith. This is my spiritual mentor. This is my pastor, and he is an amazing gentleman. And I'm going to bring him on and let him introduce himself, and we will go from there. Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
how are you,
brother? How are you?
I'm doing well. Glad to be with you and to fellowship and talk. And let's dive right into it. First of all, sir, could you introduce yourself to the audience and to the chat room and everybody?
No, I want to remain anonymous just in case there are government agents at my door.
I told y'all. I told y'all. Tonight may be the last live stream I have on this channel. This is my pastor, Pastor Jeff Heygood. He is the pastor of Living Word Church in Columbus, Ohio. My mother Sparks, could you do me a favor and grab our YouTube channel and drop the link in the chat? With that, so now you guys, he just prefaced what's going to happen tonight. So hold on, sit down, strap in, put your seatbelt on, get your pen, your paper out, and anything from there. So with that, sir, welcome.
Glad to have me on. Actually, I watched the show. I enjoy it quite a bit, as well as the hours of conversation we have about the things going on in our world and in our nation. I believe that we're in perfect timing, and being prepared for what's coming is one of the wisest things we can possibly do.
See y'all? Now y'all know why I hang out with this man. This, and I'm gonna tell all of y'all right now in the chat, he's in my group. He is under my protection because if anything goes down, I'm gonna make sure him and his are okay. And trust me, he hold his own. He can hold his own without a doubt. With that, sir, so we're going to go right into faith, politics, and then preparedness. Do you believe, Pastor, that our country is being judged for the sins of our fathers?
Well, absolutely. There's been a long judgment has been taking place. I think many times we think about judgment, we think about something that's instantaneous, but that's not consistent with the biblical or historical record. Judgment is usually a time or a season, not just a day. And it generally goes on for the purpose of hearts turning back toward God. Unfortunately, America is very stubborn. And so our heart, I'm talking about nationally, our heart doesn't turn very fast. And so judgment on America may last for an extended period of time.
Right. Exactly. And, you know, with the judgment, especially everything that's going on, not only in our country, but in the world, do you see that judgment spreading across the globe itself?
Well, here's, I guess, with the threat of sounding very Christian, which I am, we live in a backslidden world. And whereas initially, historically, the judgment was primarily meted out on Israel and those around them, the gospel has gone worldwide now. Everybody's responsible. Everybody's accountable. There's very limited ignorance of the gospel at this point. So there's blood on everybody's hands, every nation. And so the price is being paid, and it's going to have to be paid. I think the key for us is to help foster the kind of environment where people can see God in a very real way. I'm not talking about a church service on Sunday morning. That's great. That's wonderful. But I'm not so sure that it's not more difficult to see God on Sunday morning than it is to see on Monday morning. When you look at the reality of the world that we live in and all that's going on, it might be easier to see God outside of those 2 hours we spend together singing songs and listening to sermons on Sunday morning.
Okay, that's absolutely. And, you know, within the context of everything that's going on, I mean, every time you turn on the news, you hear negativity, and it's beginning to make people feel a certain way. What would you suggest that people do to try to stay level-headed or calm in all this chaos going on in the world?
First and foremost, only turn your television on when there's an Ohio State football game on. There's no other reason to watch television.
There we go, the Buckeyes.
There's no other reason to watch television. So let's start with that.
Okay.
But I think this bombardment of negativity is contributing to this what the world would call a mental health crisis, where it's just a bunch of people that are depressed about everything because everything that they experience, everything that they partake of, everything they listen to is negative. And if you listen to negativity all day long, especially when you feel like there's nothing you can do about it, that's why it's important to prepare yourself. Because that keeps you from going into the dumps and saying, wowsy, wowsy, woo-woo, there's nothing I can do about it. If you're doing something, you're always going to be proactive and looking forward. If you're not doing anything, you open yourself up to depression and paralysis, where you literally do nothing but wait to die.
Exactly. And, you know, especially you have those that are in the news and on the internet that are fear-mongering. What do you say to that? Those that, you know, feed on the demise of people?
Well, honestly, I'm gonna tell you what I say to it. It works.
Yeah.
It is accomplishing the goal for which it is being used. And those who are ignorant of it keep drinking the Kool-Aid, not realizing that it's just sending them to first an emotional, then a spiritual, and ultimately a physical slaughterhouse. But if you partake of it, it's going to do exactly just like encouraging messages and encouraging communication uplifts us and inspires us. Well, this negative stuff has an equally opposite effect. It's going to bring you down. It's going to ruin every aspect of your life. But let's think about this. When you don't feel good about yourself, you go on spending sprees. You buy worthless things. You do. You go out and you drink yourself into oblivion. You smoke all the weeds you can find. You go to the dispensary to get all the medicine booty that you can handle. And before you know it, you've lost your life in a stupor trying to recover from all this depressing information. And just like inebriation, when you finish, when you come off your high, when you sober up, your reality has not changed one iota.
Right. Exactly. And do you think this is done on purpose? And if so, what do you think the end goal of those in running the world, what their end goal is?
Well, I'll answer the question in the order they came. Do I think it's done on purpose? Absolutely. Misery sells. And here is the purpose. The end game, the end goal is control.
Okay.
It is easier to control people who are emotionally messed up and also economically messed up. You can control poor people who don't feel good. Nobody's controlling Elon Musk. You know why? Because he is a rich egomaniac. Nobody's controlling him. He's Lex Luthor.
Right. That is true. That is true. So with that, let's jump with the control. Do you think that is why we're seeing a so-called supply chain shortage, a food shortage, gas prices going up, housing going through the roof, all of that?
Absolutely. And you're going to see more, unfortunately, because I'm sure we all think about this. If you control the food supply, you control people.
True.
That's the one thing if you control food, you control water. I mean, you can turn off the utilities to a certain degree and people will find a way to survive. But if there's no food and there's no water, and the only place you can get it is from the elite class, only place you can get it is from the government, then people have no choice except for to submit to the government and whatever shot they want to give you at that point.
Speaking of, so Charlie 19, the arm ticket. What was your take on all of that when it first started up to now? Well,
you've been around. You've personally heard, but early on in this process, I felt like this wasn't on the up and up, and I never trusted it. There was something in my heart, something in my spirit that said this is wrong. This is the playing out of every weird sci-fi movie I've ever watched in my life. I don't trust it at all. There's no way in heaven, hell, earth, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, Uranus, or anywhere else I would let them put that shot in my arm. Absolutely not. And when you began to see the way they manipulated behaviors from whether or not you could go to work or whether or not you can compete as a professional athlete, all based on whether or not you took a shot for a virus that did not keep you from contracting the virus, did not keep you from spreading the virus, did not keep you from getting sick with the virus, did not keep you from dying with the virus. And they say, if you don't take this shot, we'll take away your ability to buy and sell. We'll cut off your finances. Right. That is a deal breaker. That is build a bunker and say, all right, come and get me because I'm not coming out to deal with that.
See, and y'all talk about me when I talk about blowing up the block. Again, like my mother's park says, if you guys want to ask a question, please put it in all caps so I can see it because I'm not really paying attention to the chat. I thank everybody for stopping in as we continue. So Pastor, what do you think it would take to turn around this country, this world, and get us in some type of, or get us going down the right path to some type of normalcy?
Well, this is where they kick us off of YouTube. So let's get started.
Oh, Lord.
Ultimately, you cannot wait for, please take these words in the context in which they're stated. You cannot wait for the oppressor to cease oppressing you. It will require an uprising. First and foremost, I think it's going to take a Holy Ghost revival. That's on the spiritual side. On the social, societal side, it's going to take an uprising. The government, especially in America, they work for us. They are supposedly our representatives. We vote for them. And we've got to change how we're voting, number one. And then secondarily, we've got to hold those who we vote for accountable for doing what we want them to do when they get in office. And if they don't do what we want them to do, then run them out of office and get real patriots, get people that are true to the game, we like to say, who are down for the cause to stand up and be representatives. I think that's what it's going to take. And as long as we can be pushed around, as long as we can be bullied, let's be honest, if any of you have ever been a bully before in your life or ever been bullied, bullies never stop. They have to be stopped. And when it comes to this, they found out what works. All you need to do is create a fictitious virus, literally. I'm not saying the virus didn't exist. I'm saying the fear that came as a result of the virus wasn't real. And you do that, you can control the entire world. So until we stand up and say, we're not going down that road, you're not pushing us around, it takes enough of us to stand up and say, we're not going down that road. We're not going to be pushed around. It's not just three of us in a bunker in the woods in West Virginia. It is open-minded, open-hearted, courageous, patriotic, God-fearing people all over this land that says simply, we're not going for it anymore.
That's true. And I agree with you. With that, this so-called skirmish that's going on across the pond between Russia and Ukraine. Correct. What's your take on that? It's weird to me. It's almost like a video game, but why?
There's a lot of theories on this. It's going to get get into the weeds here. Zelensky is a Jewish guy who's the president of Ukraine. And obviously there's some connotation to him being Davidic, slaying the giant. If you want to look at it that way, you can. Ultimately, Russia is a part of end time prophecy in a very negative way. Okay. I think Vladimir Putin would love to fulfill that prophecy when Russia and China get together and get the entirety of the world to gang up on Israel. I think he's got delusions of grandeur of what what he would like Russia to be, greater than it's ever been. And one of two things is going to happen. Either somebody's going to crush Russia, or before it's all over, Vladimir is going to start playing with dirty weapons. Correct.
And do you think he really has the United States in his sights?
Well, let's be honest. He doesn't really. I don't think our military is what it's cracked up to be. But the truth of the matter is, he doesn't really want any of this. If he's going to do it, he better do it before 2024.
Right.
While we've got a dementia, Alzheimer patient, he's got to do it while Brandon's in office, because certainly you wouldn't want to do something like this it would be Donald Trump's honor to just blast Russia, because he knows that would put him in the history books in a very, very wonderful place. He crushed Russia. So you wouldn't want to do that while Donald Trump's in office. While Biden, if anybody's gonna sell wolf tickets to America, now is the time.
Right. You're right. And the Russia's ally, what they've done to their people when they do complete lockdowns and seal your doors, what do you think their take on this whole thing is?
Well, if you're Russian, you're not really used to freedom. One of the big things that differentiates the United States from almost every other country, every other nation on the face of the earth is, number one, we have become accustomed to freedom. Number two, we have more firearms in this country than we have people. If you need to, I am in my office where my safe is. I could turn around and let you see the glory. However, and that is always going to be problematic. You can only control a well-armed people so far.
Right.
If a person doesn't have an ability to fight back, you can push them forever. When you push people that have the ability to fight back, you're going to be limited in your ability to push them. I also believe that most of the people that are in the military would not be in favor of taking away people's freedom in the American military. What you're seeing in the Russian military is because what Vladimir Putin is doing is not very popular to their neighbors and their brothers in Ukraine, that the soldiers aren't willing to fight. They're walking away. If the American government were to command the U.S. soldiers to attack U.S. citizens, it would probably last a while, but then many soldiers would stop doing it. I don't think it would last long.
Right.
I think the soldiers would cease to obey those orders after a little while. First of all, there'd be lots of resistance. And then secondarily, you're killing your own countrymen. I don't think it would fly very long in America. We would have that people call January 6th a coup. It was anything but a coup. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it was not a coup or anything akin to a coup. But however, if the U.S. government ever decides to go military against U.S. citizens, then I think we have enough people in America that will say we won't stand for this, that it will not be a prolonged campaign.
Right, exactly. And with that, we might as well stick on the Second Amendment here. What do you think of all of this registration with Visa and MasterCard now having a new category to track purchases of firearms and ammunition?
I think it's terrible. It's government overreach. And this is my perspective. I'm an answer guy. All of my firearm purchases from here on in will be made in cash.
Smart.
And to the best of my ability, off the grid.
Yes.
Literally, my 2-minute daydream is to have a firearm sort of community, co-op community. So if I'm looking for something, I buy it from you. And you buy it from someone else, and we just kind of we're gonna take it off the grid. I don't like the idea of tracking firearm purchases because if you get these red flag laws that we have in several states already, and someone decides that Trent and Jeff are kind of crazy guys, they just send law enforcement to our house to come confiscate our weapons. So that's why we need weapons that are not known to the government that we have. So you want to get my 38 special here, have at it. That's all I got. Or anything else.
Exactly. Everything else I lost in a boating accident.
Yep, absolutely.
And what is your take, Pastor, on this thing or debacle that they're doing in Illinois, the purge law?
I got flagged on Facebook for posting that. The independent fact checkers got to me, and then I posted it again, and then I got the warning. And since my page is connected to the church, I don't want to get thrown off per se. However, that's got to be amongst the craziest things I've ever seen in my life, where there's really no law. What is if a person can commit murder and be let out of jail with no accountability whatsoever, then there is no law. The law is gone. And if you think we're already under judgment, let us keep going down this road. I mean, it's not like we've taken God's best punch. There's a whole lot more to God that we haven't seen. We have not taken God's best punch.
Right. Absolutely. I literally sat there dumbfounded when I heard what Illinois is doing. And because you can't carry a weapon there, or they have no reciprocity, pretty much they're saying you can do whatever you want and you're not going to jail.
Honestly, I don't want to go to Illinois for anything. My wife has family there. Tell them to come to Ohio.
Yeah. Same here. I got family there, and I haven't seen them since I was little. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the chat for a second. Anybody have any questions they would like to ask Pastor Heygood? If you do, please put them all caps. Okay, so we have a question from Krista. She's asking, where can we see Pastor Jeff and others on Facebook?
Other than Facebook, we have a YouTube channel where all of our sermons are. Also, all of our sermons, the audio is available on iTunes for free. You can just go and listen anytime you want.
Thank you, my mother Sparks. Appreciate it. She just dropped Living Word Church, our link. You can join us on Wednesdays and Sundays, and you can catch us anytime. Pastor Haygood has some amazing messages in series, and just as you see him talking with us tonight, that's how he is in the pulpit. He's not a hooping, hollering, brimstone and fire pastor. He is a teaching pastor, and he's going to tell you right from wrong, no matter what the topic is. So with that, Pastor, do you think, with the state of our country and everything that's going on in the world, do you think we're going to end up in World War III or IV anytime soon?
Well, here's an interesting thing from a timing perspective, which is our teaching for the month of October is on God's timing. I would not at all be surprised that the end time prophecies that we talk about from the Bible coming to fruition very quickly, very rapidly. Right after the revealing of the Antichrist, there is what is essence World War III. So we've been wondering forever, when is it going to happen? Well, based on the biblical timeline, it's going to happen under the reign of the Antichrist, or in the time of the revealing of the Antichrist. And so I think we're very close to those kind of things taking place. Now, I do have an idea of what that calendar looks like. And there's one major thing. I think everything that has to be done before what people call the rapture has already been done. There's nothing else we're waiting to happen. So if it happened tomorrow, if I'm sitting here right now and we're talking and then I'm gone and you're here, well, peace, my friend, I'm out of here. At that point, all HE double hockey sticks will break loose. And there'll be, before the end, there's wars and rumors of wars. After that time, then you're going to get a great war where the entire world's going to be at war for a while. And then the final one, Armageddon, will come even later. But that's also a world war. And so, we're very close. Our enemies, real enemies, mostly America has picked with countries when it comes to war where there was no question as to whether or not we would win.
Right. Exactly. We have a question here. Do you think that it is possible that the fire raining from heaven will be nukes?
Boy, I want to say something crazy, but let me cross myself.
Go ahead. Go right ahead, Pastor.
Possible. I don't know, other than what happened at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 60 years ago. We don't know what a modern nuclear weapon is going to look like when it actually explodes. But that is something that I would not take off the table as being one of the manifestations of fire. Any of these rockets, you think about this, when the Bible was written, there were no rockets. Right. There was nothing flying through the air farther than an arrow. And so now we can launch fire from one nation to another. And they are lit up like fire. If you ever see when I was in Israel, I actually saw rockets coming over from Syria. It's pretty much what you see. It looks very much like, lights flying through the sky. It's certainly possible. That's it. I think the key then is just simply be ready that when it happens, it happens. Live every day as if it's your last. And if it's your last, at least you'll be able to say, I lived.
Amen. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Another question here from Krista. What do y'all think about the timeline for the 24th, Rosh Hashanah? False flag threats?
I'm personally not real familiar with the false flag aspects of that, and I don't follow the Jewish calendar. I have several Christian friends that follow the Jewish calendar and the feast quite a bit. They even say things like God only listens to you during Jewish feasts. I'm not one who subscribes to that thinking. I don't think it's consistent with the Bible or the God of the Bible.
Right.
Therefore, so I guess she would have to describe to me what the false flag threat is, because I'm not familiar with that. Are you, Trent?
No, I am not. I don't follow the Jewish calendar and all of that either. So I'm with you on that. Good evening, GT. How are you? Good to see you. Glad you're in the house. Sit down, pull up a chair. So what do you think, Pastor? Do you think that the United States is vulnerable to be invaded?
Vulnerable? Yes. Definitely vulnerable. If you come, you better bring the heat, though, because we've got capabilities to, we don't have a very large military these days, but we do have a great deal of military technology and might, and we could use that with a great deal of skill, precision, and outright terror. So there's only a couple of countries that could. When you say invaded, attacked probably is one thing, invaded's another.
Right, true.
I think we can be attacked.
Okay.
I think it was the Japanese that made the statement of how risky it was to invade America, where they said there's a gun on every porch or something like that. An invading army does not simply have to wrestle with our military. Let's be honest. Probably everybody on here tonight, if there was a foreign army coming down our street, we'd run outside with our slingshots and defend our community.
That is correct. You are absolutely right. We got another question. What would you like to say to date setters or the rapture or the second coming?
Stop it. No man knows the day. No man knows the hour. That's why I say you live today as if it's your last, because you don't know. I certainly sense that we're closer today than we were yesterday. And the prophetic calendar is pretty full as to the things that are going to take place prior to the rapture. So it could happen any day. But the fact that you think it's going to happen on a particular day tells me specifically that it's not going to happen, because no man knows the day. As a matter of fact, everything that we see, every indication we see from Scripture says that it's going to happen when you don't expect it to happen.
Right.
And so it's probably in a time where we would consider peace. But here's what the interesting thing is. In today's world, if we're going to have peace, it's probably going to be because we have succumbed to immorality.
Ooh, that's good, Pastor.
And so then it gives you a semblance of peace. And then what happens. Now, in the midst of that, the real church, the real Christian, the real body of Christ, the real children of God, if that's going all around, there will always be a righteous remnant who will not give in to the pressures of society or Satan. And so that group may be extremely strong, even if it's not extremely large.
Right, exactly. Like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When they said, we're not bowing down to you, we're not worshiping.
Absolutely. And God will never leave himself in the earth without a witness. There's always going to be somebody. Even in the case of Elijah, when he thought he was the only one, God said, I've got 7,000 who have not bowed their knee to Baal, nor have they kissed him. So there's always somebody. They're not always on television. They're not always in a mega church. They don't always have 30,000 followers. That's really not, God is more likely to raise up a Gideon who can take down 20,000 with 300 than he is to grab a guy who has 20,000 and go fight 300. Just the way God does it, he always wants the glory. And so he takes little old people like you and I and uses us to transform this world and turn it upside down. So we'll know that when it's done, it's the Lord's doing, and it's marvelous in our eyes.
Amen. I'm with you on that. I told y'all put your seatbelts on, because he's going to speak the truth, and that's why I love this man. And I am so thankful that he's in my life. Now, with that, let's talk about preparedness. From your viewpoint, are you prepared?
Personally?
Yes.
In certain ways.
Okay.
I am spiritually prepared.
Amen.
Economically, I'm not really even sure what that looks like, to be honest with you,
Right.
economically, because if things happen economically and the currency crashes, I don't have a pot of gold sitting around here. I've got enough ammunition to but I don't have a lot to barter with. I got things,
right.
But yeah, so prepared from that perspective, it's kind of hard to know what it's going to require economically. And then when it comes to sustainability, that's a totally different aspect of being prepared. And I had some conversations about this earlier today. Do I feel like I'm prepared in that area? No. Am I doing things to be prepared in that area? Absolutely. And honestly, I don't know that I'll ever come to the conclusion that I am actually prepared. I think it behooves me to continue making preparations for that day up until that day comes.
Absolutely. And as a prepper, we never think we're prepared enough. Got another question came in. Do you think as a Christian it is wrong to kill someone to protect your family?
Come try to hurt them and find out.
There you go, folks. You heard it straight from the man of God. Yes, that's there it is.
If someone's going to attack me, my family, my kids, my grandkids, anyone who's on my team, we're going to do what's necessary to defend. David killed Goliath.
Right.
For the glory of God.
Right.
Israel eliminated the immoral enemies that inhabited the promised land at the command of God. I would. None of us want to ever take another life. Nobody sits around. No sane person sits around thinking, "Man, I would really like to kill someone." None of us do that. However, it had to be a couple of months ago. In the middle of the night, I thought I had heard a big noise downstairs in my house and live in a 2-story home. It's the middle of the night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm about half groggy. I hear something. I don't know what it is. I grab my firearm. I don't turn the lights on because my training tells me not to turn the lights on. I am better in the dark in my house than any stranger would ever be.
You got that right.
So I grab my firearm. I tell my wife, you stay back here. And when I walk out this door, you keep it closed. And I'm going to clear the house. And I cleared the house. I went from room to room, from floor to floor, and cleared the house. Now, I said all that to say this. Had there been an intruder in my house, there would not have been any hesitation for me to pull the trigger on my firearm and eliminate the threat.
There you go. Absolutely. And that's our right as a gun owner to protect ourselves.
I think it's a responsibility.
Yes, it is.
When it comes to your family and you're the leader of the household and they look to you for protection, I have a responsibility to protect them. And so that I am going to do that. I'll deal with what fallout comes from that later.
Yeah. Yes.
Now my kids know better than walking here unannounced in the middle of the night. They better call like, "Dad, we had an argument. I'm coming over." There better be a telephone call. It's common sense. You don't come without making that call.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. So what is your take on the so-called food shortage and the prices of everything going through the roof?
Well, I think it's purposed, and you've heard me say this, and I want to make sure that I reiterate it clearly as I can. If you make people poor, they have to depend on the government.
Right.
And so the food shortage is solely for the purpose of creating greater dependence on the government. Because if we depend on the government, then we cannot resist them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's purposeful. And certainly, you see the newscasters that'll say, there's just a conspiracy. Having 50 fires at food processing plants is not a big deal. None of those fires were set purposefully. And I think, okay, that's got to be the world's greatest coincidence.
Yes, I'm with you.
A biblical proportion.
Exactly. We got another scenario here. We're all hunkered down, people starving, people dying, massive crime in the streets. A woman and child come to the door for food or help. What do you do?
I'm going to let Trent answer that. You don't want me to answer.
Oh, so you're going to put me on the spot. Well, first of all, it depends. I'm going to rely on discernment at first, because if I feed them and they leave, they may bring back 30 more people. I may just tell them, nope, no food here, go away. But I at this point, I can't answer that completely unless I'm in the situation. Because there's a lot of other things.
It's a tough question. I mean,
it is.
Based on the way that question is worded, I mean, there's a whole lot going on there. That could be exactly how you spoke of it. It could be a setup to bring more people to find out what you have and to overwhelm you with a raid of people coming to your property. And so I'd be if it's somebody I know, that's one thing. That may be a little bit softer of a response. If it's a total stranger that shows up at my house looking for stuff, I'll be honest, I probably don't even answer the door.
That's true too. I'm with you on that. More than likely, if I don't know them or have never seen them, I'm not even going to answer the door. My mother Sparks, you're grilling us, but that's okay. Any other questions? Please just put them in all caps, and we'll spend time. Please keep me on time, my mother Sparks, because I want to try to keep this to an hour, unless Pastor Heygood has nothing better to do than sit here and kill time with me and everybody on the internet.
Hey, listen, hey Trent, Jordan is here.
Uh-oh. Whoa. Well, folks. So here's why I love this man. Jordan is his granddaughter, and she runs the show when it comes to her and her time with her grandfather. So when she's there, she wants his time. So we're going to keep this to 9:30, because she'll come in here and probably close his laptop and say, come on, let's go play. So I'm going to respect that. Love her to death. Let's see what else we got here. Blah, blah, blah. So Pastor, what do you think of, people that prep like us, and we're in the grocery store and folks see us buying large quantities of food, and they look at us and say, why are you hoarding all that food? Well, what would be your response?
The easy answer is that's none of your business. It's really none of your business whatsoever why I'm buying what I'm buying. Secondarily, what you're doing is securing your survival, and you have to do most of the stuff that we do that's important.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do it without being concerned about what others are going to think of us when they see us doing it.
Right.
If we bow to that societal pressure, we'll never be prepared.
Okay.
I mean, I really want to source my own food. I don't trust the food supply overall. I want to source my own food. And so you're not going to eat. No, I don't want to eat anything comes from. I want to source my own food, my own chickens, my own vegetables. I want to source my own food. I just think that's the healthiest way. And with things going on in the government the way they have in the last several years, there's not a person on this call today, the stream today, who can say they trust the FDA.
That's true. And we've been talking about that forever. And anybody in the chat will tell you we're growing our own food. If you can, grow it. I don't care if you live in an apartment, put a garden out on your balcony, your deck, whatever. for those that can have chickens and geese and cattle and all of that, absolutely, that's the only way to do it. I agree with you 100%. With that, did you hear about registering your garden? And people were talking about that, and it was all over YouTube. And then it's talking about community gardens being registered with the government.
Now, honestly, the government's out of control. They want you to register anything that would take away their power and authority in your life. And somewhere along the line, I want to sort of segue somewhere else here. So please,
I'm go right ahead.
Off the rails for just a minute. I don't predict elections, but I tell you what, if we don't start putting different people in office, now it doesn't determine the outcome. What it really is going to do is determine the timing. If we keep putting these globalists in office, then it's just going to speed up the time where we all have to go underground. Now, let's be honest. All right, conspiracy theory thrown right in your face. If you think for a moment they're not listening to stuff like this, then you're naive.
Right. Correct, because they already are and have been. And if you don't believe me, look at the cell phone sitting next to you. Anybody, they're already listening. They're looking. They already know. You're absolutely right.
Well, sir, even some of the sermons that we've preached early on, especially on YouTube, I would say something that was wildly controversial, and our stream would go down.
Right.
That's true. So, all right, it's a coincidence. I know it's a coincidence. Soon as I said something radical, especially about the coronavirus, soon as I said something radical, YouTube would have an issue with our stream, and it would go down. And you think, okay, it's just a coincidence. Well, it just happens to be a coincidence every time I say something that the government would not find to be favorable.
Right.
So I take most of those conversations offline.
Yes. And I hear 99.9% of them in his office. And that's why.
There's a point probably where these kind of conversations will no longer be available to us. So we have to take advantage of them while they are, because I can see a time when you're not allowed to have this forum that we currently have. It'll be gone.
Correct. And folks, that's why I keep talking about networking in your area, in your community, in your city, in your state. It's time to start networking people, because what we have, the freedom of speech we have now, we may not have in the next 3 to 4 years, period. So.
Well, we already see it being eroded at this point, or certainly monitored, and even little things that are subtle. For instance, remember, probably some of us went to a search engine called DuckDuckGo.
Yes,
it's very popular with conservatives for a season. Well, it got purchased by Google,
right?
And so people went to DuckDuckGo so they wouldn't have to use Google. And it's still billed as the most secure and blah, 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 but it's now owned by Google. Right. So they got you.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, folks.
And so it's only a matter of time before certain, or for many of the other avenues of communication that we currently have is either going to be curtailed, heavily monitored. If you think about what has taken place with freedom of speech in the last 3 to 4 years, you think about this, a sitting U.S. president was literally kicked off of every social media platform in the country. A sitting president. If they can do that, that is the infamous they. If they can do that to a sitting president, they could rob us of our freedom of speech so quickly and so easily, I mean, quicker than a blink of an eye. They can do it to a sitting president. They would have no issue completely kicking us off of every social media platform. You also notice this. The DOJ, I've heard 3 or 4 cases recently where they just literally run up on somebody who's in opposition to them and take their cell phone.
Right. Exactly.
They've done it to a couple of people that have worked with Donald Trump. And one guy is going on vacation with his family. They meet him at the airport, take his telephone.
Take his phone. Yes.
And
how are you, Tori?
Those kind of things, and because it isn't happening to you, it isn't happening to Trent. It's not happening to Jeff. We think, oh, it's just them. Well, it's always just them until it starts becoming just us.
Us. That's right. And you know what they say about just us is just us. Yes. Welcome, Tori. Good to see you. Grab a seat, sit down, put on a seatbelt if you want. We've had an amazing conversation with Pastor Jeff Heygood, the pastor of Living Word Church, Columbus, Ohio. Pastor, you know, it's amazing how there are still people in this country, in this world, walking around saying nothing is wrong. What do you say to those people?
Well, you know, I love simplicity. They're wrong.
Yes.
When they say nothing is wrong, they're wrong. They are very wrong. And here's what I've noticed about people. This is human nature. A human being can become comfortable in almost any situation. Like right now, none of us live on the street, right? But if our circumstances change and we were thrust into life on the street for a certain period of time, within a matter of months, that becomes our new normal. And so with all the things that are wrong with the government overreach, with the immorality, with the lawlessness, there are people get used to it. Now, there's some people that said, I'm never going to get used to that. Other people will just get used to it. And when they get used to it, they say nothing's wrong, but something's very, very wrong.
Right. GT Jr. grows in Alaska. This brother lives in Alaska, Pastor, and he's a master, what I would call botanist. He's asking, how in the world can somebody take my possessions, my cell phone from me? He doesn't understand that.
Well, unfortunately, the government can, and given the occasion and opportunity, they will. We just have to be prepared. I mean, I don't want to go down more rabbit holes than I need to, but it might not be a bad idea to have some kind of what they would literally call a burner telephone. If you get to the point where the government considers you a threat, then you have to start living as if the government considers you a threat, and realize at that point. Now, listen to this. Now, this is. I'm a movie buff, especially old movies that have been around for a while. And we saw the movie Enemy of the State.
Yes,
it was a fantastic movie.
Yes,
but most of us thought they can't really do that, can they?
Yeah.
Well, what we have seen since that movie came out is that not only can they do it, they certainly will do it.
Right.
They listen to everything, they watch everything, and if they will raid Mar-a-Lago, they will certainly raid my little Lago.
Exactly. And Enemy of the State is one of my top 10 movies, because he's like, why'd you blow up the building? And he told him, because you made a phone call. And they were listening, and they were able to track them. See, now y'all understand why I'm a movie buff, because my pastor's a movie buff, and we quote movie lines all day long. So, like you said, Pastor, we feel as if we're never prepared enough. What would you say to somebody that is just now either starting to prepare or looking to prepare? What would you tell them?
I would say take the same approach that you do with a savings account. When you start saving money, it never seems like you're going to have very much. You put $50, $100 in a savings account, you're like, man, that's nothing. It means nothing. Until you do it consistently over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, same concept holds true for prepping. That first I don't know, carton of water bottles or whatever, the first 24 water bottles seems like nothing. Well, they cost $4 or $5 for 24 bottles. Buy one a day and see what it looks like after about 3 months. Now all of a sudden you have 90 cases of 24 bottles of water in a 3-month period. So it's very incremental. It's the little thing every day that adds up to be a lot. I think you take that same approach with everything. Just do a little bit on a consistent basis over a period of time, and when you need it, you'll have what you need.
There you go, folks. said so eloquently and methodically. You know, folks, everything that we've been talking about in the chat and across YouTube and on every other channel, Pastor Haygood just verified what we're doing is the right thing to do, because we're prepping to take care of our families. Any closing thoughts, concerns, Pastor? Because, you know, I could sit here and listen and talk with you all night long, but Jordan's there.
And I'm going to go have some fun with her before bedtime.
Okay.
Because her dad won't let her stay long. It's a school night.
Okay.
All I can say is stay the course. And even if for a brief season things appear to get better, stick with your values, stick with your principles, and stay the course. And people say, well, if things are better now, we have this person in office, that person in office. No. Don't ever put your hope in a politician.
Amen. There's
purpose that is being unfolded before us. Don't put your hope in a politician, no matter who we elect. Be prepared. The Bible says, be ye also ready. And so be ready. And I think if there's an opportunity where things, let's say from the 10,000 foot view, begin to look like they're getting better, use that as an opportunity to prep at a higher level.
There you go, folks.
Rather than a lower level, because things are getting better, take it to a higher level, because usually right at the end of that comes the onslaught. So keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep your mind stayed on Jesus, keep focused, and be ready. Someday, you know what? Maybe next spring we may everybody come together and have about 3 days of barbecue fun and good in-person prep talk.
See, okay, folks, now he just said something that I've been talking about that he knew nothing about for the last 2 months, where I said I wanted to do a prepper day or weekend outing with like-minded people coming together. He just confirmed what I was thinking. Pastor, once again, I love you. And
love you too, brother.
Thank you. I thank you for being on here, and I'm definitely going to have you back again if you would grace us with your presence. Tell Jordan I said hello. Peace. OH. IO. Have a good evening, Pastor.
God bless you all. Talk to you soon.
Okay, folks. There it is. You heard it from an amazing man of God, a friend of mine, and a pastor. He's amazing. With that, I want to thank everybody, especially my moderators. It has been absolutely my pleasure for y'all to just hang out with me tonight. And remember this, keep prepping, because your family is depending on you, and it depends on your life. Everybody have an amazing night. God bless, and I'll be seeing you soon. I'm Trent, and this is Vision Preparedness.